I saw someone say that Larva is just that one show that you remember very vaguely, have no idea what it's called, yet feel extremely happy when you think about it, and I couldn't agree more. So if you haven't seen Larva on Netflix yet, buckle up because you're in for a trip. It's one of those shows that everyone knows, it's a core memory but no one talks about.
Yes, I agree, let's do it.
This show is honestly one of the weirdest things to pop up on the streaming service. Imagine a series where the main characters are two larvae who get into the most bizarre and often gross situations imaginable. It's like if Skibidi Toilet and Ren and Stimpy had a baby, and then that baby ate a bunch of candy and started hallucinating. Okay, here's the basic gist. Larva is a Korean animated series centered around two larvae, red and yellow, who live in a drain. Yeah, a drain. They get up to all kinds of ridiculous, sometimes stomach-churning antics, dealing with everything from trying to steal food to bizarre encounters with other insect characters. There's no dialogue, just a lot of expressive grunting and squealing, which somehow makes the whole thing weirder. Every episode is super short, like 2 to 4 minutes. They're basically little sketches or visual gags, which given the setup feels about right. In terms of storytelling, it's not exactly deep, but it is entertaining in a kind of I can't look away even though I feel like I should sort of way. The show might sound simple, but it has a strange allure that's almost hypnotic. There's something about watching red and yellow get into these surreal situations that's just, well, weirdly satisfying. The episodes don't even follow a clear storyline. It's like the writers thought, how strange can we make this? And just ran with it. And somehow it works. So let's get one thing straight. Larva is not your average kid's show. It's the kind of thing you might watch at 3 a.m. when you're trying to figure out if you're actually asleep or if you've just been transported into some kind of fever dream. But it's not just the bizarre situations that make it weird. It's the combination of visuals, sounds, and utter randomness. Reddit is full of people trying to unpack the enigma that is Larva. One user, u/buglife4life, wrote, I started watching Larva and now I feel like I'm losing my mind. How did these two worms get such a cult following? And honestly, same. There's something about the absurdity that just draws you in. For real, the randomness in Larva makes it feel like you're watching a surreal fever dream. It's like the creators just threw logic out the window. For example, one episode involves red and yellow discovering a piece of bubble gum. What do? They chew it until they're literally flying around like balloons. Another episode has them dealing with a giant, terrifying spider. It's like they're on a constant quest to survive, but their enemies are as ridiculous as they are. Now, this show isn't exactly packed with lore in the traditional sense, but if you dive into it, you'll find that Larva has its own little world. The show takes place mostly in a city drain, but there are hints about the broader world of bugs that red and yellow inhabit. There are recurring characters like a grumpy beetle and a hungry frog who seem to have their own backstories. It's like the creators decided to throw these random characters together and see what happened. For instance, there's an episode where a pigeon shows up and it's kind of a big deal, or the time they deal with a ghost larva. Yes, a ghost larva. It's weirdly complex for a show that at face value looks like it's just two bugs slapping each other around for laughs. Some fans even speculate that there's a hidden meaning behind all of it. One Redditor, uTheoryBug, posted a whole thread about how Larva could be an allegory for survival in an unforgiving world. Red and yellow are constantly struggling to survive in this hostile environment, and they have to rely on each other to make it through. Deep, right? So, Larva has been compared to Skibidi Toilet, and if you've seen both, you get it. Skibidi Toilet is another chaotic, weird-as-heck animated series that just embraces the bizarre. Both shows share that same offbeat humor, the kind that makes you wonder if the creators are just messing with us. Both shows feel like the creators were challenged to make something so weird that it would actually work, and it does. People on Reddit often point out the similarities in how both shows go from 0 to 100 real quick. Just like Skibidi Toilet, Larva thrives on random plot twists and visual gags that have no rhyme or reason. Reddit user u/toiletlover69 summed it up perfectly. Watching Larva feels like the same experience as watching Skibidi Toilet. It's chaotic, it's weird, and yet, somehow, it's hilarious. And yeah, I totally get that. Both shows have a way of taking the strangest premises and turning them into something you just can't stop watching. If you ask anyone who's watched Larva, they'll probably tell you it feels like a fever dream. The way the show is put together, with the bizarre visuals, the lack of dialogue, and the endless stream of slapstick gags, it all makes you question if you're actually awake. People on social media have a field day with this. TikTok especially loves to make videos where they watch Larva and react to how absurd it is. It's like people can't believe what they're seeing, but they also can't look away. I even saw one TikTok where a guy was watching Larva and just kept saying, "Is this real life?" over and over. There's even a whole subreddit r Larva fever dream where fans discuss their favorite what the heck moments. One post was titled, "That moment when red and yellow decide to eat each other is when I realized this show might actually be a fever dream." And yep, that's the kind of energy we're working with here. Despite the weirdness, or maybe because of it, Larva is actually super funny. It's not the kind of humor that requires you to think too much. It's just slapstick visual gags and a lot of physical comedy. Red and Yellow are like the ultimate comedy duo, always finding themselves in ridiculous situations and reacting in the most over-the-top ways. One episode has them competing for a piece of candy, and it devolves into this wild chase that feels like something straight out of an old Looney Tunes cartoon. And even though you're watching two bugs go absolutely nuts, it's somehow hilarious. There's a simplicity to it that just works. Plus, let's be real, my 9-year-old cousin would love this show. It's got all the ingredients kids go wild for: silly characters, gross out humor, and non-stop action. Honestly, it's the kind of thing that would keep a kid entertained for hours. It's like they distilled all the chaotic energy of childhood into a show about bugs. And maybe that's why it works so well. So yeah, Larva is definitely weird. It's the kind of show that makes you question your sanity a little bit, but that's also what makes it great. It's like watching a train wreck in slow motion. You can't look away, and you don't want to. There's something about the randomness and absurdity that just works, even if you can't quite put your finger on why. Redditor u/bugfan22 put it best. Larva is like that one friend who's really weird, but also really fun to be around. You never know what's going to happen next, but you're there for the ride. And honestly, that sums it up perfectly. It's the kind of show that's just fun, even if you have no idea why. At the end of the day, Larva is one of those shows that you either love or hate, but it's definitely memorable, it's weird, it's funny, and it's oddly addictive. Whether you're a kid, a Gen Z meme lord, or a millennial looking for a bit of escapism, there's something here for you. You might just find yourself as weirdly obsessed as the rest of us. But I want to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. Have you seen this show? Don't forget to like and subscribe and hit that post notification bell. Until next time.